All right, I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Hubbardston Planning Board. It is 6:37 p.m. Planning Board meetings are broadcast live and digitally recorded. This meeting is being held both in person and virtually through Microsoft Teams pursuant to Section 20 of the Acts of 2021, allowing public meetings to be conducted remotely so that board and committee members, as well as members of the public, can participate remotely. And recognizing that we do have a quorum with Mr. Carpenter, Mr. Steiger, and myself, and we do have our alternate present. We do have a member who is attending online, so all votes will be taken by roll call. Noting for the record, we have Mr. Homan and Mr. Demalia absent. So moving into our agenda, we have a call for public comments. Do we have anybody here to comment for anything, either in the room or online, for something that is not already on the agenda? All right, hearing none, let's move forward into acceptance of the previous minutes. So the previous minutes were made available to the board through the Google Drive and also available to the board through their packet if they're here in the room. The meeting was January 22nd, 2026. Our usual procedure for handling these is to get a motion and a second and then handle any corrections through friendly amendment. So with that said, would somebody like to make a motion?
I make that motion that we accept the planning board meeting minutes of January the 22nd, 2026 as described.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
Attachment.
I will second that motion.
All right, here in a second, let's take corrections or adjustments through friendly amendment.
None for me.
None for me.
Yeah, look pretty good again. All right, so if there are no corrections, I would like to call for a vote by roll. Mr. Steiger?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
And the chair is aye. The motions are accepted. Moving forward, we have item 4, which is the planner's report. Alec, do we have separate items for the planner's report tonight, or is it merged in with the agenda?
No, one item I do want to just update the board on. So we've filed the necessary contract documents with the state to have all of the pre-existing state contracts for planning grants transitioned over to my authority, as well as the interim town administrator. So we both have signatory authority on any invoices, any reimbursements back from the state, as well as the reporting requirements. So this past month, I started updating the reporting requirements on our pre-existing grant. We are waiting for the state to return to us a signed version of the RDF funded project and the community planning fund project. We are waiting for the interim town administrator to now sign. He received his signature link earlier this week. So if he hasn't already, you should be squaring that away, and we'll just be waiting for a state official at that time. So all those projects are queuing up. We should be ready to go for procurement in the month of March, depending on the bandwidth of this board and the select board.
All right, and I assume you're going to follow up with him to remind him.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so moving down the agenda into new business, we have a proposal that is in the folder from Tom Christopher. All right, can you come on up and tell us what you're looking for here?
Do you like me here or?
Oh, no, you can just come up to the table.
Oh, great. Nice to see you gentlemen this evening.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
I'll try to take a long story and make it short.
And just please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, my name is Thomas J. Christopher, Christopher Environmental Associates, representing Fall Line LLC.
Okay.
Back in, well, you guys have been on the board for a while, so you know a little bit of the history of the property. Back in 2009, it was under a number of orders from the building department, from the EPA, from the Conservation Commission, etc. And the Christopher Environmental got the opportunity to do the restoration on the property. And this was the old Andrews site. The property was sold to Fall Line LLC, which is actually Dr. Joey Edsel. She is the principal of Fall Line. She's a professor at Lowell, excuse me, at UMass Lowell. So back in 2017, she uses the property for training dogs. That's the only use. In 2017, she wanted a water feature for the training regimen of the animals. So we submitted a proposal through a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission, and in 2017, the project was completed and issued a certificate of compliance. The only difference in the plans from the original design submitted to the Concom was an as-built that was quite a bit smaller. And that worked very well for her for a number of years, but recently she's acquired dogs that are substantially younger, and she needed, or she had desired to increase the size of the pond feature for training. Consequently, because the project had originally been approved by the Conservation Commission and subsequently DEP, I didn't feel it was really necessary to file another notice of intent. So instead, we filed a determination of applicability. We submitted that to the Conservation Commission, and certainly they had some questions, and we went through several meetings. But through that process, DEP sent a number of issues that they felt were important back to the Conservation Commission. I was copied on that communication, and we responded to those issues in writing to the Conservation Commission and DEP. One of the things that the DEP thought would be appropriate for the commission, even though, again, they know the project's history, that they do an additional site walk. So we performed an additional site walk. They looked at all the wetland lines, they looked at all the land features, they looked at the riverfront area, and in a subsequent meeting, they approved the project with what they call a negative determination, which means that they considered an expansion of the existing pond would not have a negative effect on the resources. We got a copy of that. Thank you very much, Leanne. And they also sent a copy of that decision to DEP. Shortly thereafter, it was a couple of weeks, DEP sent a note back to the Conservation Commission and myself, CEA. And what they did was they did not agree with the decision that the Conservation Commission made. So they issued a subsequent, or not a subsequent, a superseding order. And with that order, they wanted an additional site visit with DEP staff. We had that visit, and they went through all the steps that the Conservation Commission did. And it was about 6 weeks later, we received a decision back from them that was a positive determination of applicability. In other words, they felt expanding the pond would have an effect on the resources. Specifically, they were concerned that the existing pond and the expansion thereof were within the Zone 2 limit of the Snake Pond Well in Gardner, Massachusetts. And because it lay within the Zone 2 limit, they felt it was necessary to consult with the Gardner Planning Board and the Hubbardston Planning Board, because groundwater issues are generally controlled under each community's bylaws. So, we did quite a bit of homework, and we reviewed Gardner's source water plan, and we did some additional mapping, and we had 2 meetings with the Gardner Planning Board. The first meeting was basically to explain the project much as I'm explaining to you, and of course to answer any of their questions. And they had a number of questions, and we tried to respond as best we could, and they needed some additional information. So we provided that information to them and had a follow-up meeting with them. Basically, we provided them with complete land use history of the project, going all the way back to 2009 when we did the restoration, and we provided them with groundwater studies both in 2009 and in 2017. After a rather brief discussion, they voted that we had performed our due diligence, but because the project actually lay within the Hubbardston boundaries, that it would be up to the Hubbardston officials to make a determination. So we are here, hopefully, that you people on the board will also find that there is no additional concern about the resource area, and if we do get that decision from this board, we will then proceed with the Conservation Commission with a full notice of intent. So what we tried to provide to this board was a review of your regulations and what was determined in the aquifer zone. The project lies with outside the floodplain, and we sent you a document on that. And it is within what you have characterized in your bylaws as an aquifer protection zone. In reviewing those regulations, there are certain allowances by this board to conduct certain activities. In this particular case, we are hoping that you would agree that the expansion of the pond would not have a negative effect on either the aquifer district or the Zone 2 Snake Well, which is located slightly over a mile away. So that's the short end of a long story.
So, before we turn to the board, Alec, have you had an opportunity to review the materials presented by the applicant?
I have. So, I have. The crux of this, and so the applicant has correctly identified that you have the authority to allow dredging or altering, in this case, of a pond structure in the district. Your bylaw does give you that provision if you find that it is a use characterized in section 13.3b or 13.3d. So your decision tonight, in part, needs to rely on that. It's not as cut and dry as a simple request for determination of applicability. You can't simply find that it is or isn't applicable. The act itself must be in terms of one of these other sections. And so after the board has a discussion if you want, if we want at that point, we can pull up these individual uses, and the board can tell me which of these you think it falls within the definition, or of course you can ask my opinion on that. But I think the board should discuss further, just noting that one of these, depending on the use it falls with, it would either require a special permit or it would be by right, and you could issue a letter and get this over with tonight.
Okay, so I just want to address the references you just mentioned. Is it possible you meant Article 15 instead of Article 13? And what are you looking at when you say Article 13?
I'm looking at Article 13, 13.3 use regulations, and 13.3, sorry, my screen just blanked there, 13.3C2. I'm not sure, nearly familiar with your new meeting room. Am I on a screen that you all can see if I share real quick?
Yeah, you are. The reason I ask is just because I'm looking at Article 13, and Article 13 is the floodplain district and not the aquifer protection bylaw. I have the aquifer
Real
protection
quick.
bylaw at 15.
Yes, the references in the letter were to the floodplain district,
Right.
not to the aquifer protection article.
That is what has thrown me off here. So I had previously reviewed that, but the board should entertain a discussion while I go jump to another section.
The project falls outside of the 100-year flood zone.
Yes, it does. It's right on the edge.
The bylaw adds another 100 feet to that. Is that why you're referring to the floodplain district, that it falls within that 100-foot buffer area, or?
More than likely, yes. That was the most obvious that jumped out at me. And we go into residential development.
Yeah, I guess when the letter says zoning regulations, Article 13, as an aquifer protection district, I completely skipped that it said Article 13 and just went to the aquifer protection district when I was looking at it, which was Article 15. So, really, I guess my question on this is twofold. The first question would be is what is our applicable authority under 13 and 15? And really, this is probably ultimately a question for Alec. What is ultimately our authority under 13 and 15 and our obligation under 13 and 14? 13 and 15.
I believe
Don't add another one.
Because clearly we
So,
just bring subdivision phasing into it.
the applicant, so just, I want to clarify some items here. So the applicant noted in their presentation, and I want to make sure I have this correct, it's your opinion that this falls outside of the floodplain, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so in that regard, then Article 13 does not apply. Jumping over to Article 15. So in this regard, the applicant is not making a filing for either a building or a use permit. And so in that case, this is not a change in use. The use is going to remain the same. This is a modification of a feature, and therefore it is a pre-existing use. Candidly, I don't know that the board has a stake in this in regards to the aquifer favorability protection, because it's a pre-existing use. The use is already established. You can't now assess different standards against it unless you find that the existing use is non-conforming, and therefore it could maybe be considered an expansion of use, but I don't know that that's a strong case either.
So,
I'll interject that
go ahead.
at this point in time, I don't know that there's enough information in front of me to comment I would like to see a site plan, with the particular features and the expansion shown. If maybe we've received that, but I haven't seen it. At least it wasn't part of the material I saw.
There's one in the
Posted.
physical packet.
And I think it was added.
Is it online
It
too?
was
It is
also
online too.
electronically.
It is in the, it's in the drive, the shared drive. There's a folder there by the name of Fairline. I may be mispronouncing it.
Yes, I see that.
And in
I
there,
just don't see a site, a topographical map showing the wetland boundaries and so forth. Maybe I'm missing something.
I have that with me, if you'd like.
Have those been provided or?
Yes,
Oh,
Yeah, I'm looking to see
Okay.
what it is in the folder as.
have you seen those, Alec? I haven't.
Yes, I have seen the site plans. Mr. Chairperson, if I could just direct another question real quick to the applicant.
Sure.
Have you previously received, or has your client received a zoning determination from the building commissioner on the declared use of the property before?
not to my knowledge. I would have to say no. They have not received a determination for a pond. The steps that we took at the time was directly through the Conservation Commission, because they would be the governing authority relative to the riverfront area and to a wooded wetland that was existing. So they
Yeah,
were-
and so,
there is no building there. We did submit a plan to the planning board, I believe 2 years ago, in 2024, for the erection of a garage barn-type structure. And it was approved by the planning board, and a septic system that was pertinent to that structure was also approved. As it turned out, the cost of that project was very substantial, and the question that I posed to my client at the time, what do you really want to do? And she said, basically, if I had a choice between a larger pond, because I'm going to need it in the future, or a building, I would rather spend my money on a pond.
so, Mr. Chairperson, in reviewing the prohibited and the special permit requiring uses, none of these uses fall within the description of what the applicant has provided here. Your aquifer favorability protection district is based on uses specifically, not modifications of the site within the use. It's those permanent uses of the site itself, where it neither falls within a special permit use or a prohibited use. It therefore is a permitted use. And I would recommend that the board say this is not applicable to the aquifer favorability protection district.
Okay.
I think the jurisdiction for expansion of the pond lies with the Conservation Commission, and where the use does not fall within the prohibited or special permit uses, it's outside of your jurisdiction.
Yeah, that was my read of it too, and that's ultimately why I asked my first question, because with it not actually requiring a special permit.
As an additional point of information, essentially expansion of the pond will provide a larger receptacle that will ultimately add to the groundwater. We do have an outflow to the pond because when it's springtime and there's a lot of rain, that pond fills right up. And rather than cause any erosion, we did design an outfall that flows to the northeast in very gradual levels that allows all the water that is surface water to infiltrate back into the groundwater. Interestingly, there has been off and on a beaver pond, depending on the year and depending how much rain we get, whether or not the beaver pond blows out. So we had to come up with a design that was actually going to balance the farm pond off with the beaver pond when it's there. And ultimately, we ended up with this trickling system that really works well. We're tickled to death with it.
Yeah. I still don't think we have anything here that's under our jurisdiction to make a decision.
I would like to ask the chair if we can take a 5-minute recess. I want to have an off-band, quick conversation with you, just to make sure that from a technical perspective, I'm in agreement with you. Would that be something the chair would consider?
Executive session?
No, it's not an executive section.
I
It's just understanding the bylaw, and I'm trying to get educated in some of the nuances here, because it's fairly complex. And I have some concerns
Yeah,
and some
I think we
questions.
can do it as a recess, but we can just talk about it.
Very well. I'll then ask the question more bluntly. May I ask a question to the?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have mentioned there was remediation effort that was conducted on this land, correct?
It took over a year and in excess of $200,000.
I'm just asking,
Yes.
when did it take place?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
Next question I have is, do you have the details in terms of how the remediation took place?
I'm sorry?
How the remediation was done?
I think it probably would be better if I showed you some pictures.
Yeah, so I have a pretty good idea where you're going with this.
This is what, the area looks like now.
Yeah, I've been there and I've seen the place. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand if you can just for the record indicate what type of remediation was done.
Yeah, if I may, more specifically, what material was used in the remediation process?
Short paper fiber was mixed with sand on the site.
And that that was brought in from where?
Irving Paper Mill, primarily.
And that was from the waste treatment facility that they had, correct?
Yes.
If
that's
I remember
correct.
correctly, because I did a site visit and I remember we had
Right.
some conversation. My concern, and I'll be very, very forward with you at this point in time, since I think this is an important element. I think, and my concern, I'm just bringing this out because it is a
That's
concern
fine.
because there's an aquifer in that area. There has been, some concerns have been brought up about the type of material that was used during the remediation. As a matter of fact, the town was at one point in time entertaining another project that was going to use the same material for other remediation efforts at a different facility. And it was deemed at that point in time that was not going to be done because of the concern of chemicals that were included and incorporated in that material. And as a result of that whole project went by the wayside. And so my concern is that having it been done in the 2009, and I believe that the pond was put in place afterwards,
Yes.
without necessarily knowledge of some of the chemical nuances that this material had, my concern that I'm bringing up here, and I'm not sure, again, I mean, I don't think it may be
Yeah,
it's in our side of the board, but I think it's a matter that needs to be brought up, that whatever the right venue is for the review of this here, take into account that the remediation material that was brought into this location, and if there's further expansion of the pond, especially in an area where there's an aquifer, may indeed have an impact on the aquifer itself.
could actually be helpful for potential issues. So this is going pretty far past our authority on this.
I get it. I just want to get it in for the record.
Yeah, I would suggest addressing that issue with the Conservation Commission, but I don't believe we have any authority to issue any kind of decision on this other than just issuing a letter saying, we don't believe there's anything here that requires us to issue any permits or anything because it's just a modification of an existing by right use.
We would appreciate that, but to respond to this gentleman's concern. From 2003 to 2009, I worked for a company called Resource Management. And essentially, my job was to find sites in Massachusetts, gravel pits that would be suitable for the recycling of short paper fiber from Irving paper mills, and also from one other paper mill in Vermont, one in New Hampshire. We completed 2 projects in Hubbardston, one for Pitcherville, and another one for Mark Dimick while I was employed with Resource Management. And if you were to look at a Google shot of those areas now, you would see that they're fully vegetated. I do follow things that happen in Hubbardston largely because I'm still working for my client 15 years since we started. On her particular property, we used the short paper fiber from Irving paper mills, but we also used wood ash from the wood-fired electric generator down in Fitchburg. Wood ash controls odors, but it's also a fertilizer, so on and so forth. Since that time, there has been a lot of publicity onto various chemical issues relative to groundwater, relative to soil contamination. The studies on the soil, they've done a lot of work up in Vermont, and what their studies are demonstrating is the use of short paper fiber, and in some cases, direct septage from, septic facilities, are not showing up some of the chemicals that I'm sure your colleague is referring to. And I don't have access to those studies, but knowing that we would be coming in front of this board, I did call my old boss and say, hey, what's new, what's going on in the industry? And basically, there probably is some documentation out of Vermont on this. I would also point out that on all of the projects that I've been involved with and completed in Hubbardston, received review and were provided due diligence by the boards of health. And I don't know who's on your boards today, but back in those days they were pretty tough boards. So that's the long and short of what has been deposited on the site. Right now, if you were to put a shovel in the ground on the first 6 or 10 inches, you'd see beautiful topsoil. That's what it is. I reclaimed over 500 acres of gravel pits, farm fields, other disturbed land areas in my time with RMI, right across the state. Today, because of the notoriety that PFAS and PFOS has been getting in the press, most of the paper mills are now trucking all of their short paper fiber up to Canada. And basically it is spread and used as a soil adjuvant, much as we did here for many, many years. But because of the regulations now and the notoriety now, it's just not really practical to go through any kind of permitting process to try to use short paper fiber as a manufactured topsoil additive. So that is the history on the 3 projects here in Hubbardston. For my own purposes, I've been doing this a long time. I have absolutely no reservations about using short paper fiber to create manufactured topsoil. Does a great job. If you go down to Fitchburg, where I now live, there was a recycling facility that was taking short paper fiber from a producer in Gardner. Unfortunately, the operator who was receiving the short paper fiber did not utilize that material well, and consequently contaminated a number of wells over in Fitchburg. When I retired from Resource Management, this company over in Fitchburg offered to hire me, and I did not take them up on that. So we knew long before it became public knowledge that there was the potential for a problem. So I did not take that opportunity for employment. I don't have any second thoughts at all for what we did here in Hubbardston. And as a point of information, back in 2010 or 11, I worked with your town manager to develop your earth removal bylaws. Those were since revised, I think about 5 years ago, or 6 years ago. And I think you're getting ready to revise them again?
Yeah.
Create
Yeah, no kidding.
another overlay district?
Not to my knowledge.
Something
I
like
believe it
this.
was longer ago than that when
Yeah.
they were done. But we, the history is awesome and interesting to know. But
Thank you.
But we got to move forward on the agenda. So yeah, unless anybody on the board objects, we'll just have Alec prepare a letter, the board, to the fact that there's no decision to be made under our jurisdiction because it's not a special permit requirement, and then you'll need to evaluate whatever approvals you think you need from conservation. Yep.
In case you
I don't
guys,
dis-
Go ahead, Mr. Kavner.
I don't disagree with what you said, Chris. I'm sorry I did not have sufficient time to review these in detail. I now see the site plan. I see the expansion of the pond. It looks like it may double the area. Is that about right?
yes,
And where does the water come from that actually gets, to create this new pond?
it primarily comes from groundwater flow and Veda zone groundwater, which is groundwater that is unconsolidated, and it's basically surface groundwater. True groundwater lies beneath the Veda zone groundwater. There is a phreatic layer, and what is below the phreatic layer is what we call true groundwater. The pond, from time to time, does dry up. I have pictures of the pond this past November, and there's not a drop of water in it. The pond itself is about 5.5 feet deep, and we are sitting on ledge. We actually wanted to go down another foot, but the whole base of the pond is ledge. So I would expect that the true groundwater lies beneath the ledge and below the phreatic zone.
If I'm reading the topography correctly, that means that you're taking out 2 to 4 feet of soil along the expansion zone. Are you saying that the groundwater the level is actually within 2 to 4 feet of the existing pond?
I don't know the answer to that question because we're now 5.5 feet down from the surface elevation.
Okay, well, it's just a bit,
And I cannot characterize what we have percolating into the pond through unconsolidated groundwater and the surface runoff. I mean, that's basically feeding the pond.
Okay, it's a bit of dredging. I guess the Conservation Commission can address that. I defer to the chair in regards to our lack of authority.
Right.
Right, that was also a point that the DEP raised, that there was a strong likelihood we would be within 4 feet of groundwater. My own guess is if we crack that ledge, would be in the groundwater. But my client is not willing to bring in a drilling rig and spend another $12,000 to find out exactly where the phreatic zone is. That's kind of where we are.
Where does the soil go that you're moving to create the larger pond?
There is about an acre of gravel pit that is owned by Bauline that has not been restored. We have done a fair amount of restoration in there periodically as we were, doing different terracings and things like that. But it will be used in restoring what's left of the gravel area.
Off the site or on the same site? I'm sorry,
Oh, on the same site,
on the same site.
yes.
If I remember correctly, because I visited a site with our prior chair, it's a fairly large acreage area, and it's from, think of it as being material that will be moved potentially hundreds of feet away in a totally different location.
It's on the other side, it's on the northwest side of Hubbardston Brook.
But still, again,
Okay.
probably
Right.
potentially several hundred feet away.
Anything
Okay.
else on the issue? Right, and all that sounds reasonable to you, Alec?
Yep, my original opinion stands.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, thank you for coming in and presenting, and thank you for the history. That's pretty interesting. So we'll put together the letter as we described, and I'll sign it and send it on behalf of the board. And then
Will there
follow
be
up
a
with-
vote on this, Mr. Chairman?
I don't believe we need a vote to say that it's outside of
Okay.
our jurisdiction. That's an administrative function.
That's fine. Whatever works for you gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time. Again, I'm just trying to get my due diligence done for, not necessarily the Concom, because they know the site so well.
Yep.
But for DEP.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are a number of new people at DEP that don't know me and don't know the site. So it's just all due diligence. And thank you very much for those questions. I don't ever have any problem responding to the work that we've done in the past. And the more we can educate different parties, I think the better off we all are.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Leanne.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
We'll try.
All right, so moving down on the agenda, we have 5B, which is a first right of refusal for 14 Prentice Hill. Alec, do you have anything to add on to why this is on our agenda? Because I don't believe we actually have authority over first right of refusals. That's a select board matter. Unless the select board is just...
Ultimately, it is, but they're required to notify several boards,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
including the planning board.
Oh, okay.
But it goes
So-
to the select board first.
Last.
Or last,
Oh,
I'm
goes to
sorry.
the select board last?
Last, okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
So there are materials. Yeah, there were materials on this one. And we don't have an applicant here online, correct? All right. So essentially, they're looking to take a parcel out of chapter and then eventually merge it with another parcel, which would be under our jurisdiction. Unless they already own both of them.
That's not actually what's happening.
No, they're not,
It's an existing residential house lot, 3.3 acres.
It's being taken out of chapter in July regardless of this right of first refusal process. Because
So-
it doesn't meet the qualifications. It has been in chapter and it should not have been for many years.
so, that's an interesting point.
Yeah, aside from that.
Yeah.
In effect, it's a 3.3 acre house lot, and half of it is currently classified under 61A. Basically, they're saying that they want to remove the tax advantage status of their yard for the house.
That is not how the letter reads. The letter reads that we intend to sell the reference land of 1.54 acres, along with the related single-family residence.
Those are both part of the same lot.
It's the same lot. When you have land
How
in
does
chapter,
that even
the,
work with merger? And either way, a lot of that sounds like it's not our issue.
well, it's just whether you recommend to the select board that the town acquire it or not.
I mean, this.
I think we would like to have their yard.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't think we can give much of unless the board feels differently, I don't think we can give much of a statement past this lot has no implications on any of the strategic projects we're currently working on. I mean, I don't know if that's
That will
going to be
do.
a bad idea. What does the board think about that?
Fully agree.
All right, so because it's a recommendation to the select board, do you think we need a vote on that, Alec?
Yes, I'd recommend taking a motion to recommend or not recommend acceptance of land, or I should say claim of land.
What about what I'd suggested where we essentially just express no, all we can really say, is, we can't really recommend or not recommend. We can just say, we don't believe we have any interest at stake in relation to our ongoing strategic projects.
You can respond that way too.
Because otherwise, I think going to I recommend would mean going into a lot of depth on this that is just frankly not necessary. So would somebody like to make a motion that we provide a recommendation back to the select board? That is, we have no opinion on this property. It does not relate to any currently ongoing strategic plans or the master plan for the town of Hubbardston.
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, calling a vote. Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Steiger?
Aye.
And the chair is aye. All right, so moving forward. We
I have
have,
a quick question, Leanne. How do I mute myself?
It should be on the top, right of your screen, there's a little microphone, it says mic underneath it. If you hit it, you'll mute yourself.
and if you need to unmute yourself temporarily, all you have to do is hit spacebar.
I think I can mute for
Oh.
you. There you go, you're muted.
And then you can unmute just by holding the spacebar down. Uh-oh.
You're toast for the rest of the night.
Oh, I can't unmute him.
No, you can't unmute somebody. You can only go one direction.
Oh, man, I didn't know that.
Hopefully you can figure it out.
I
You're
think that
muted for life.
I think that technically breaks our quorum. We kind of need them to figure it out.
Do you see the microphone in the top right corner of your screen?
Use sign language.
I see that my,
There you
when I look under the options for me, it does not allow me to mute myself.
Oh, you're unmuted now.
Well, either way, it's working. Let's go with it. All right. So we have review of the updated sandpit overlay language. I mean, most of the board only got this within a couple of days, so I think we might need to come back to this. Note that Al did have some additional thoughts on this that, Leanne, we're going to have you reincorporate into the record, and we'll bring it back up at our next meeting.
I did add them to the drive as well, his comments.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. So does anybody have anything they really want to get to on this, or can we come back to it at the next meeting where we all have a little bit more time?
My preference is how we do it next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Let's move forward on the agenda. So this is actually one of the more important items. So the first one of these that we need to take a look at is the,
Sorry, it's tiny.
it's no problem. I mean, I'm at the point in my life where I just have to hold it further away to see it. Is the Town Administrator Selection Committee. So I don't know who has had an opportunity to take a look at the press release that went out on that from the town. But in short, and let me just grab the language. I thought I had an email right on top that had the language that you had sent over.
I texted it to you, but the link is in the Excel file in the drive. I put the link right next to it.
Oh, okay. So, Chromebooks are awful. Where is it? So, in short, the select board is looking for a delegate of the planning board to serve on the selection committee for the next town administrator. I don't believe there's been any decisions made on whether or not that's going to be internal or external lead driven, like whether or not we're going to hire a consultant for it. So I don't think we can make a strong statement about what the time commitment's going to be. So could be a lot, could be reasonable. I don't know. I don't know, Ms. Young, if you have any additional information you could add on that.
I'm very against hiring an outside consultant to do that. I want it done in-house.
But the board hasn't made any kind of position on it.
We haven't even, it came up once and it was kind of shot down hard
Okay.
by a few of us, and it hasn't been brought up since.
Okay. So that likely runs it on the heavier side of time commitments. So we ultimately need to send a delegate for it. And we need that delegate to be active because making sure our next town administrator has an appreciation for land use issues will certainly make our lives easier in the long run. So we have lots of selfish reasons in addition to it also just being the right thing for the townsfolk. So there's the description. So do we have anybody on the board who is super excited about that one? And just to look at the timeline, applications were due January 13th, but we're required to send somebody. And they were due by the 19th back to them. And it is a public committee. So, is anybody super excited about that one?
I have to excuse myself for not being physically present until April, so
I mean,
probably not tonight, unless an interview via, video conference is acceptable.
okay, so I can pick this one up if I can trade off EDC. Granted, there is no current meeting scheduled for EDC. Hey, but I'm trying to horse trade here, people.
So I'll just lay it out. I'm completely stretched right now. Family matters prevent me from spending additional time beyond the CIPC and the CPC that I already am committed to. So I apologize. I usually am very interested in these types of items, but for the time being, I cannot accept any additional responsibilities.
Okay, but that is you committing to CPC and
Well, I was
CIPC.
always at the CPC, and the CIPC, I do remember saying, you know, if nobody else takes it, I will participate in it, so I will then take that one. Because
Okay,
I've done it in
and-
the past, and
Anybody on the board care to challenge your debate?
please do.
All right, so,
If you want me to sit on the EDC, I'm happy to do that.
well, the EDC is not currently constituted, so let's leave that one
the
for
best kind of
last.
meeting.
Yeah, because there are some here that I think are potentially more important to make sure we get filled out. And if we have one where we end up all pointing fingers at each other, that one's fine until there's an actual EDC. So let's, we don't have to fill a first town meeting house feasibility task force seat anymore, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay, take that one off the list. So, MJTC. So, what this is it is the transportation arm of MRPC. And I can't do it because they put the meetings during the day at like 1 o'clock on Thursdays. And that's when clients really want me. So, we do need to make sure somebody is going back to this. It is historically a delegate of the planning board, a delegate of the select board. The delegate of the select board is usually the town administrator or Travis. And then there's somebody from the planning board that goes and listens. The reason this is important is because this is where all the grant opportunities get presented to do things like the downtown project. Like, that's where you find out about a lot of those opportunities early on. So by the town not having somebody there to just have their ears perk up and be like, free money, let me get in line for that, we're missing an opportunity for the town. And at least having somebody from the planning board just listen in and be like, oh, great opportunity, and just bring it back to whoever the town administrator and Travis is, will be helping our mission move forward. So, Mark, you're interested in that one?
I'll do it.
Okay.
You're
So
the other
enthusiastically.
alternate Peter Russell then,
Yeah.
as it was last time.
Yep.
That's good.
All right, so MRPC.
Bring in the cash.
MRPC, so I am currently the chair of it. So that is actually a pretty meaningful time commitment right now. And I would suggest keeping me the chair of it because I'm running the committee that's putting together the ongoing strategic plan for MRPC and who is putting together the plan for replacing the ED when he retires at the end of next fiscal year. So, I mean, if anybody really wanted it, but otherwise, I think I'm pretty much stuck with that one until I see that through. Nobody really wants it.
Congratulations, it's yours.
So, MRPC alternate. So the town has Patricia listed. MRPC already has Mark listed as the alternate. It's pretty unlikely that I'll miss a meeting because I run them. I mean, it could happen. But how would you feel about being the alternate on that?
I mean,
The meetings are first Wednesday at 7, and there isn't really a foreseeable reason that I would not be at a meeting, and it doesn't automatically make you chair if I don't show up. Like, the vice chair takes that over. I mean,
Yeah.
we also could have other people do it, because we still have 2 more here that are reasonably important that we need to fill out.
I mean, for ease of paperwork, yeah, sure, but I wouldn't be planning on doing anything active about it.
Okay. And next on the list is Affordable Housing Committee, which has not met in a little bit, but I think this would actually be pretty great for Al, because you have experience working on some of these projects in your previous planning board commitments in other towns.
Okay.
That was easy.
I heard it.
I mean, that was consent.
That's
I heard
him.
consent.
Absolutely. And it's being recorded, so. This is,
Who's in charge of the groups?
So right now it is Maria, but I don't think they've met in over a year. So it's probably actually due for a reconstitution, because there is a rule on that somewhere. But yeah, it does need to start meeting again, because we're not far away from being due for a housing production plan again. I think the one we have was 17, 16? I don't know.
Back their ways.
Yeah. But yeah, that there probably won't be much that happens on that until we have a full-time town administrator again. Full-time regular town administrator. All right, so we got everything except the EDC, and the EDC, why don't we just punt on for now?
And the TA search committee.
We stuck me on that.
Okay.
Heather's gonna love that. All right. That was sarcasm. I know that
I
isn't
know.
always reflected in the record. But just to say it out loud so it's adequately reflected in the record, that was sarcasm. Okay. All right, anything we missed? All right, so this I would like to do a motion and a vote on, because these are ultimately determined by the select board. And really, there's an election that comes up in a few months where we just have to redo this again. But anyways, we still have to recommend it to the select board for them to formally make the appointments. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve the slate as discussed?
so moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'm calling a vote. Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Steiger?
Aye.
And the chair is aye. The motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have matters not reasonably anticipated by chair. Yeah, I think I anticipated everything. But does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to add to the list of discussion topics for our sand bed overlay language, some controls on earth removal below the groundwater level. I don't feel comfortable about what was discussed tonight. Thank goodness it's just a bunch of dogs running around in the pond. But it's a bad precedent, in my opinion, to be disturbing below the groundwater levels with other activities in the future. I think we ought to look carefully at preventing that kind of earth removal. Please tell me I'm wrong, Alec or others.
I'm not sure that it's not covered in our bylaw, but it's worth bringing up or taking a look at. So, yeah, fair enough. Anybody have anything else?
No?
There have been DLTAs open. Alec already submitted.
Yep.
We're in good shape on that. There's a couple other updates that have come out of MRPC. I'll send them out and put them in the minutes for the next meeting. I'm going to get back in the habit of just loading the MRPC meetings into the folder so everybody can have the opportunity to take a look at them, since they're all public documents. Other than that, anybody, any public comment for anything not on the agenda, online or in the room? All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we adjourn.
All right, here in a first, do we have a second?
Seconded.
All right, is non-debatable. Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Steiger?
Aye.
The chair is aye. We are adjourned at 7:43 p.m.